20XX podcast is a journey into the singularity, year by year. Based on hard science, this series searches for what is probable and possible. No other speculative fiction changes as tech evolves step by step. Follow a roadmap that will change people into new forms of life. Every episode brings you closer to the moment of singularity. It's a slippery slope, and change increases with each year.
The T-Line is a double-track, underground train line that runs more than 350 kilometers around the perimeter of the reservation. Hundreds of facilities connected to it are still intact or partially inhabitable as a world storm rages. The storm blew away many of the tops of buildings, but lower floors and subfloors remain safe and usable. 9,000 Humes shelter in the T-Line and joined spaces. A workforce of robots has walled off the outside, reinforced structures, installed floodways, built living units, put in sewer and gray water systems, and made public spaces that serve the survivors. Cindy lives in a new apartment in what used to be underground parking. Elevators and halls lead to dozens and dozens of brown-pink doors. She lines her front door with a string of blinking lights and puts stickers of fish and orchids all over her door. The lights and stickers she found in the nearby mall where people rummage. The toilet in her unit's cramped bathroom feeds aquaponic crops. The sink and shower run what's commonly called river water, which you shouldn't drink, but it's fine to bathe with. The tiny kitchen features an induction stove that she's never used. Soundproof walls provide perfect silence. Central cooling only helps a little. The reservation has a geothermal power plant, but it can't make enough power to provide the 9,000 inhabitants with adequate AC. When she finds herself staring up at the low ceiling, she tries to busy herself by exploring the very local internet, or sorting belongings consisting mostly of worthless odds and ends she's collected just in the last year. This apartment has no windows. Her lake property had sweeping views in every room. Even her bedroom closet had a window that looked over the roof at a barn on the neighbor's property. What she'd give to have that view here. She spins a circle in front of a thin-length mirror and watches her skirt and multicolored hair lift and fall. Pulling up her sparkly socks, she tilts her pumps from side to side. A centipede walks up the wall, so she pulls off her shoe and smacks it. A cleaning bot will clean it up later today. They need to train bots to kill the insects and vermin that infest the underground accommodation. She puts on her hooded tunic. Its hood, made of transparent material, covers her head and face. Once she turns on the cooling and filtering machine in the pocket in front of her belly. Cool, filtered air fills the hood and makes it balloon out. The tunic also cools her upper body. Taylor, the robot baby she raised for 5 years, lies stone still in a crib she made in a collagen crate. When he was still online, she took him everywhere, including on public transit. He used to shift positions even when he slept. People didn't need to ask her why she raised a robot baby. They knew she did it for a living and made a lot of money doing it. Why would a company pay people to raise robot babies? Because they recorded terabytes of data per minute on how someone parents a child. A robot baby recorded such things as how hard it was being held, how often the parent would breathe on the child, and how a parent responded to a variety of baby emotional states. All that valuable data was used to train robot nannies that could watch after living human babies. She kneels and pats his chest. Now his stillness feels so empty. His body is still here, but the real Taylor is lost in the cloud. She's let go of a lot, but she still aches for the absence of her Taylor. She leaves him. Her front door locks itself after she closes it and walks down the hall. A field mouse darts past her. In the elevator, 3 children and a man speak with quiet and mournful voices. Will he be all right? I hope so. I hope so. In the T-line, Lutin Bots mop the platform. Public trash bins stand up themselves and head to the recycle facility on wheels. People loiter. Everyone wears the hooded tunics. To simulate day, overhead lights are dialed up bright. They will dim and brighten during the day to approximate clouds blocking sunlight. Each evening, they take an hour and a half to dim out. Birds of all kinds, blackbirds, sparrows, finches, and chickadees fly up and down the tube. They perch on the cables mounted to the ceiling. 2 men sit in chairs facing each other, playing an AR game. 7 children run past her shouting. 1 knocks her arm. A collagen board walk and lamps have been put in place between the 2 rail tracks. Graffiti covers the walls in spots. Lots of people mill about, killing time. Some sit in groups. Some pantomime as they tune into VR. And some stare aimlessly. Adults seem bored and the kids act insane, running around yelling and fighting. A mother walks up to people using community AR to show them a picture of her son. Have you seen him? He hasn't come home for a week. If you see him, tell him to go home. When Cindy enters the cafeteria, she spots Winston sitting at one of the tables. A dude standing next to him holds out a large snake coiled around his arms. Winston calls across the room. Cindy, come over here. His large hands hold a knife and fork on either sides of a tray. Blinking rapidly, she walks over to him. Snake Dude smiles at her. She sits and Snake Dude says, Want a pet snake? Squinting and grinning, she says, Nah, no thank you. Snake Dude quirks one corner of his mouth and walks off. Stabbing a Greek salad with his fork, Winston says, You gonna eat something? She looks at the hologram menu. I have so much to do today, but I guess I could eat quickly. He laughs. She taps on ranch omelet, and the menu goes away. A man and femme sit at a nearby table. Every time she comes in here, they sit there eating. She suspects they go to the bathroom to vomit so they can return to eat more. A bot brings her food and sets in down in front of her. She removes her arms from inside her tunic sleeves and brings forkfuls of food under her tunic and to her mouth. Any word about volunteering? He shakes his head. All blank. They don't need us. What is happening with that kid over there? Look to your left. On the other side of the brightly lit cafeteria, 2 femmes stand over a boy as he lies on the floor shaking. Winston says, Didn't that happen a few weeks ago? Cindy remembers medbots carrying a girl down the tunnel who shook all over. I think, yeah. He says, Look at all their faces. She glances from one face to the next of the 20 or more people watching the boy shake. He says, Not a lot of happiness. Do you think we'll make it? She says, I mean, we're all cared for. Robots made us apartments and feed us. He shakes his head. Everyone's got the stuck at the airport syndrome. You know, we're all waiting and waiting and waiting. She says, Why do all the kids run around like wild animals? Don't they have school or something? He says, Why would they go to school? They won't get jobs after they graduate. A Lutin Bot and Stretcher Bot walk toward the boy on the floor. He says, I'd cook if I could. I'm a pretty good chef. But how'd that work? Money is disabled. Do I just give my meals away? She says, the robots even pick up litter now. He points at a wall screen showing a looped ad requesting volunteers for robot repair, training included. You could do that. She tilts her head. Technical stuff never was my thing. An old man walks a bicycle toward them. His droopy, wrinkled eyes don't diminish the glow of his cheerfulness. Cindy turns to face him. Uncle Kobe, how are you? Kobe leans the bike against another table and sits with them. How do you like my bike? Winston nods. It's a nice bike. Where did you get it? Kobe says, I found it in the mall. Cindy says, Uncle, stay away from the mall. You know you can get hurt there. Kobe says, no one's going to mess with an old guy. I'm 105 years old. She says, yes, you told us. Winston says, what the heck are you going to do with a bike? Kobe says, I'm going to ride it all around T-Line. Both Winston and Cindy laugh. Cindy says, wait, that's like hundreds of kilometers. Kobe says, you young people are going to sit here bored. Don't you know you can come up with your own things to do? That's what's been forgotten. Haven't you young people ever heard of a hobby? My mother used to knit. Winston says, how are you going to eat? Kobe brings up a map in share space. He points at different pins on the map. There are places to eat, sleep, and shower all the way around. Did you know there are 4 hospitals? Haven't you wanted to visit the geothermal power plant or the fish farm tanks? The Lutin Bot 2 is already operating in companies, venues, and homes. Though the latest version looks similar to Lutin Bot 1, its performance is an astonishing leap forward. Lutin 2 contains computers with live model capabilities. Let's say you want your Lutin to do the dishes. With the one model, you install dishwashing skills and hope it works well in your kitchen. With Lutin 2, you can show your robot how to do the dishes just like you'd show another human. The bot uses a large motions model to generate custom skills on the spot. It also creates thousands of virtual playthroughs of washing your dishes and can perfect the activity in simulation before it ever moves to wash a dish. Lutin 1s are known for missing spots or repeating mistakes. Let's say you want your bot to fold the laundry and it folds a fabric shopping bag and puts it in your shirt drawer. With a Lutin 2, you can take the bag and tell your bot, I don't want this here, and go on to tell it where you do want the bag. Lutin 1 models are controlled by your assist, but you can directly command Lutin 2s. Lutin 2s come with hands, arms, and laps featuring smart shells that can turn hard or soft to fit the task. The shells transition to soft for helping an older person into bed and can turn hard when landscaping. Lutin 2s come in many sizes. Lutin Standard for domestic work, Lutin Heavy for homesteading and remodels, and Lutin Petite for childcare and small dwelling tasks. The beloved Lutin K9 has also been updated to a Lutin 2 version. Developers decided not to roll out advanced facial expressions with the Lutin 2s. Customers will need to wait until Lutin 3 comes out for those capabilities. Melissa lives in an apartment near Family World, or what's left of Family World. Robots build barriers against the storm on the 2nd and 3rd floors, and inhabitants only have access to the 1st floor and 7 subfloors. A series of guerrilla floods have brought tons of mud into Family World. Where most restaurants hosted animatronic entertainers, fungal blooms grow over everything. Though the mud has dried, the air still smells swampy. Now, when it floods, Open channels that divert floodwaters create harrowing roars that fill the labyrinth of corridors and fun centers. Too many small animals seek refuge here, and a population of feral cats hunt them day and night. Insects climb the walls. Snakes eat the insects. Melissa lets her gyro clogs take her to family world. Dozens of small scars cover her face. She could have skin treatment to have them removed, but chooses to keep them. Her full black hair has many streaks of premature gray. With a calm and steadfast gaze, she twists her lips as she habitually grinds her teeth. She reaches the 18-lane bowling alley, sets up a work light on a tripod, and switches it on. Mud splatters cover the walls. A layer of silt stands 3 centimeters high on the floor. Items washed in by floods lay scattered. An elk head wall trophy stands out as one of the random items. She also takes note of a cat tree, a seat from a bus, and a traffic signal from an intersection that looks larger than life now that she sees it at eye level. A cat runs in, raising hisses from another cat in hiding. Cracked screens hang sideways on walls. After a few minutes, she uprights a dirty bar stool and sits on it. "Assist. Call Turner and Sims." A ring sound repeats. Sims' face appears. "Hi, Melissa." She frowns. "Where are you? You guys said you'd help today." Sim glances at something or someone out of shot. "Oh, was that today?" Something came up. She stands. "Do you know where Turner is?" Sim's eyelids flutter. "I don't know Turner. He's the other guy who said he'd help, right?" She says, "Have fun. Talk to you later." She air taps the hang-up button, and he disappears. Pacing around, she remembers earlier announcements from the council. Unsure, she says, "Assist. I need robot help." The next day in her apartment, she hears a knock at her door. When she opens it, 5 Lutins wait in the hall. A cartoon version of a Lutin appears. "Hello. 5 Lutins have been assigned to you. I can guide you on how to use them. Just say Lutin help when you have questions. These latest versions follow orders." Melissa looks over the bots as the avatar continues speaking. She says, "Follow me," and walks past them, continuing to walk down the hall. They follow. At the bowling alley, she says, "Clean up this place." She laughs with surprise as the 5 bots walk into the room and get to work. One bot opens a closet and brings cleaning supplies out. Another scoops silt off the floor with a dustpan and fills a garbage can. It's eerie how Hume-like their movements are. A third picks items off the floor. It turns to her and says, "Where should I put these?" She says, "Hold on. There's a video arcade down the hall to the left. You can put the dirt and garbage in there." One bot carries motionless Lutin 1 bots out of the bowling alley. With no world internet, the Lutin ones are useless. One recreation center connected to the T-line hosted indoor ski slopes, competition-sized swimming pools, a wind tunnel park where people used to practice parasailing, and an indoor water park. These sites no longer function as intended. In the water park, the pools hold floodwater, but instead of draining them, people set up chairs by the murky waters and relax. Someone added live fish. Others added sun lamps. Mosses and algae grow all over. Though the water rides aren't running, people come here for the open space. Cindy and Winston recline in beach chairs next to the largest pool, watching a video and shared AR. The video shows a femme speaking in front of the entrance to one of the hospitals. Bots carry bodies on stretchers into the hospital. The femme says, "I'm just leaving the hospital where my brother, only 8 years old, passed. I'm sure many of you have noticed that our children are getting sick. Just look, more children brought to the hospital with the same condition. We need answers. Eddie was a good kid. He was kind and funny. Sorry. Sorry. Her tears and choking up interfere with her words. She covers her mouth, waves her other hand, and the video ends. Winston says, "What the?" Cindy says, "I don't know." She scrolls the thumbs of other videos. Could that be? She clicks on one. A video enlarges and shows Kobe straddling his bike in front of people in the train tunnel. A femme voice out of view says, "Look who I met today. What's your name?" The old man says, "Kobe Winters." He grins broadly. She says, "And explain what you're doing?" He says, "I'm biking all the way around the T-line." The people standing around him cheer. Cindy and Winston cheer. Kobe continues, "I'm from the Oneida Nation. I played and coached hockey for 50 years. And I'm going to be the first person to bike all the way around the T-line. I challenge you to do the same." He raises his arm and people cheer. Winston says, "Look at that old fucker go." Cindy says, "He never could sit still for long." Misty and Ed, both near 40, ride in a golf cart-style car down a utility corridor. Above, fat pipes and cable racks follow the network of passages. Ed looks ahead without getting distracted. His calloused hands hook over the steering wheel. The length between his nose and mouth makes it look like he has a long face expression, no matter how light his mood is. Floodwater never reach these isolated corridors. Ed drives past door after door. In front of some doors, desks, message boards, signs, tool carts, and other items show that at one time, lots of people worked here. Ed says, "Why did Jade want us to come down here?" Misty wears a peasant blouse and jeans. The blouse comes from a designer collection. She looks around, noticing details. "Do you remember when we purchased a super AI from Texas A&M? Ed turns the steering wheel to head down another corridor. "I think so." Misty lifts and drops her eyebrows. "She wants us to look at it." Ed laughs. "Okay. She wants us to look at it. I can do that." Misty punches his shoulder. Their ARs show a dotted line leading to a blue diamond floating in front of a door ahead. Ed slows, presses the brake, and shuts off the power. The door opens and Jade steps out. In her 50s, short and curvy, she ushers them in. "I thought you'd be sooner. It's in here." Her hooded tunic has grease smears on the sleeves. A well-worn awl tool hangs off her belt. She leads them into a vast room filled with rows of industrial-sized shelves. Some of the things on the shelves can be recognized. Servers, cooling units for quantum computers, and rolls of fiber optic cable. Jade rushes ahead. "It's just down here." She stops in front of several crates shipped at the same time, never opened, and bearing the same style of QR code stickers. These crates are taller than the Humes. As soon as the Humes' AR glasses read the QR codes, holographic information is displayed. Cognisphere Systems. This artificial superintelligence system, UN World Threat Designation Omega, represents an existential risk to humanity if mishandled. By activating this system, you accept full responsibility for potential global-scale consequences. Do not proceed without expert guidance. Jade sweeps her hand in front of them. These are a super AI, one of the few in the world, and there's a possibility it's the only remaining super AI. Superclass AI were kept under wraps. If the U.S. still existed, it'd be highly illegal for us to get it running. Misty walks up to a crate and touches it. "What should we do with it?" Jade says, "If we get it running, expect amazing things. Off the top of my head, I'm guessing it'd help us build a fusion reactor. It could tell us what the disease is affecting the children. It's smarter than Hume's by a long shot. Ed says, can it stop the storm? Jade says, probably. In the meantime, it could show us how to cool the air and clean the air, so we won't have to wear these. She taps on the transparent material of her full head hood. I'm having trouble finding words for what this thing can do for us. Expect great things. This is like Parasist, only 1,000,000 times smarter. Misty says, people are scared of these things. What's the danger? Jade says, we're just around 9,000 people who all happen to get along. That alone makes using one of these a lot safer. The elders are also in alignment, as they say, with our population. Ed says, so we connect it up and flip the on switch? Jade says, that's the problem. I don't know how to operate it. I think I could get it all hooked up most likely, but these aren't made for the public. We do have enough online college courses to teach people how to run one. We need people who want to train. We need someone who will commit to it in the long run, like for years and years. Misty says, we have the same problem every time. Volunteers are hard to get, and they either work off and on or don't complete what they started. What if we offer Nuplus to whoever commits to the project? Jade says. I'd do it, but I'm already overwhelmed with keeping the automation running. They all look at the crates and at each other. Ed walks up to one and knocks on the collagen board. So, this is the genie in the bottle. Do you think it'd give me wings? Misty says, I want it to give me 1 night of solid sleep. Jade frowns at them. Ed says, maybe it'll fix my love life. Misty laughs. No, not even a super AI could do that. Jade shakes her head with a sour look. This is serious. You guys are talking about driving a rocket ship as it takes off at Mach 20. And you want to drive it around the neighborhood. In the restored bowling alley, Cindy steps forward and launches a ball toward a group of pins. Winston sits in one of the retro fiberglass chairs bolted to the floor. He pulls on his beard. In college, we used to talk about UBI. My roommate Ned said that UBI would undermine evolution because people who no longer needed to survive would devolve. His girlfriend said UBI would equalize the masses and free them. It would lift people up and give them the chance to excel, because people are driven to becoming their best selves. She said everyone would have a chance to compete in a truly capitalistic society. The rich would get all kinds of competition. He laughs. Cindy's ball knocks 2 pins down. She spins around, rolling her eyes. Some will devolve and some will rise to the top. Your turn. On many of the other lanes, groups bowl. The jukebox plays songs all over the map in terms of genre and year when the songs came out. He stands, stretches, and gets his ball. You ever think about who's missing? She sits and sighs. What do you mean? He holds his ball up in the starter pose. Where are the drug addicts? Where are the VR addicts? Where are the insane? They were probably killed in the storm. It's an evolutionary bottleneck. She shakes her head. That's gross. He launches his ball. Why? She says, I was addicted to weed. Does that mean I should get removed from the gene pool? He half turns. How did you quit? She says, gene therapy. I got a shot, and a month later I got a second shot. My cravings died down, and then weed made me physically uncomfortable, kind of like motion sickness. He sits next to her. Hey, the daily is on. He motions toward a large screen over the pins. A femme on the screen talks. He and Cindy both air tap in the direction of the screen. The jukebox music fades out, and the TV volume raises. The femme on the TV with large eyes and a slight underbite stares into the camera. Links at the end of the show. My name is Sherry Rose, and this is today's news. The neurological disease affecting preteens has claimed 264 lives. Cindy gasps. This is having a devastating effect on our colony. Families are hit the hardest, but it's led to all of us feeling loss and depression. We can't afford to lose more lives. Despite our 4 world-class hospitals, treatment for the disease hasn't been found. Parents spend their days in the hospital watching the lives of children come to an end. Other children who show no symptoms report nightmares and fear that they too will get the disease. There are no known cases in children 9 and older. Sherry's eyebrow twitches. Deep sadness melts her expression for a second before she pulls her mouth and eyes up to a neutral expression. I lost my son, Mateo, earlier this year. He was only 7 years old. My dreams of watching him venture out into this world now bring me sorrow when before they brought me so much joy. But I'm grateful for the support of this community. We must come together, help and encourage each other. Our greatest strength is each other. Cindy's hand reaches inside her hooded tunic to wipe her eyes. Winston shifts in his seat. Some positive news. The council has informed me that the new floodways have been completed. With the help of 3D maps of the subterranean and records of flooding behavior, Builder AI planned and dug flood tunnels that divert flooding into the Northern Line, a U.S.-made shipping and travel tunnel system much deeper than the T-Line. Next fall will be the time to see how well the new system works, but I think we can relax knowing it won't be like last fall. Also in the news, a man has gone missing. His name is Kobe Winters. A picture of Kobe appears on the screen. Cindy yelps. She and Winston look at each other with hanging expressions. You may recognize him as the hockey player for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He is 105 years old and wears bone-mounted AR glasses. Kobe was riding his pink bike with the goal of riding all the way around the T-Line. He was last seen eating breakfast at Buckinghorse Cafeteria. Tap this link if you have any information that can help find him. Winston watches Cindy. He reaches over and clasps her trembling hands. Cindy? You okay, Cindy? Dread freezes on Cindy's face as she stares at the screen. In a virtual reality meeting hall, 12 figures sit on a raised dais, their forms brighter than the surroundings. They comprising the Native Nations Council. Only about 30 people sit in the audience even when the space can accommodate 10,000. Most of the seating remains faded behind visual mist. For each attendee, the face of the person presently speaking appears enlarged and to the left of center vision. As the council go over weekly business, those in the audience listen, still as statues. Corey, a council member with a perfectly trimmed beard, says, "Before we wrap it up, are there any issues we haven't addressed?" Several in the audience stand. Corey points at the nearest standing, a femme wearing a shirt that says Montana on the front. The femme says, "People are bored." Corey lowers his eyebrows as he smiles. "You expect someone to entertain you? All your needs are met." Another man on the council raises a hand toward Corey. She says, "That's just it. I used to be a wedding planner. I traveled all over. Mind you, I'm grateful that we're all fed and even have clean sheets and tooth chewables. It's not just me. Everyone I talk to is bored. Has anyone noticed that the kids are running around like wild animals?" He says, "You can volunteer." She says, "I've tried volunteering. I and a lot of people find it hard to stay interested, and it doesn't help to call people lazy. In her apartment, Cindy leans over a box lined with a blanket and containing Taylor. She runs a screen cleaner over Taylor's face. "Just hold tight, little one. I won't be long." She has gotten used to his stone-cold lack of movement and tells herself someday he may move again. How she misses him. He grew more demanding with each year, and the people who made him told her that he developed that trait on his own. She liked his neediness and felt pride. It reflected what a good mother she was, caring for him every moment. What does it say about a parent when a child can't wait to jump out of the nest? She takes his hands and rubs them. His body is the first data capture model. Unlike later models, his hands never did move, but they're still jam-packed with touch sensors. Not made for consumers, the gaps of skin over his neck and joints show machine parts. She learned to overlook the gaps. The eyelids were shut when his body lost the connection to the AI and remain closed to this day. The AI is the real Taylor. This body is as much Taylor as one of the outfits she dressed him in. After kissing his forehead one last time, she puts her backpack on and leaves, locking the door behind her. On the tunnel platform, she meets Winston. He stands next to his two-wheel follow car. "You sure you want to do this?" She says, "Somebody should. I don't think he has any close family here." They set off down the boardwalk between the tracks. He takes out a bottle, rubs cream on his neck and arms, and points the bottle in her direction. "Want any phage cream?" She says, "I already put some on." In a lighted part of the tunnel, they pass clusters of micro-houses built against the wall. Graffiti covers pillars and walls. People sit on tiny porches oblivious to their surroundings as AR glasses feed their eyes. Music plays, affected with reverb coming off the tunnel walls, giving it a dreamlike quality. A femme repeats throwing a stone against the wall and catches it when it bounces back. A cluster of adults play cards on a patio table. Winston has more spring in his step than usual, and he hums off and on. Cindy, too, feels her all-pervasive sense of loss and gloom lessen. Their AR gives them a map that appears over the ground and shows where they are in the T-line. A marker indicates where Kobe was last video captured. Winston says, "We'll need to find a place to sleep tonight." It'll take at least 4 days to reach the spot where he went missing. From time to time, robots carry a youth on a stretcher and pass them. Parents and siblings often come along, sullen and silent if the child is still alive, crying if the child has passed. Cindy says, "Where are the older kids? I know there are more teens. I saw tones of teens when the storm started." Winston grunts, "In school?" They happen to approach a femme carrying sacks of belongings who says, "Kids aren't in school because what's the point?" It's not like they'll get a job after graduating. They do risky behavior because they can go to the hospital and get fixed up. She points up at a lamp hanging high up. "Last night, I saw a group of kids climb up to that lamp and drop down. They bloodied their legs on the rocks." Cindy nods before the femme passes. Robots move onto and off of a loading platform as they load a train. The map labels the area as aquaponics grow houses. Without conversations, music, and shouts, the tunnel grows quiet, except for the crunching footstep of the robots over gravel. Winston says, "I wonder if we can see a grow house." Cindy says, "Shouldn't we find Kobe first?" Winston says, "Yeah, I guess." The area ahead is poorly lit. Cindy jumps and grabs Winston's arm, when a group of teens runs out of the darkness and lunge toward them. The teens grab a collagen board box off the train and head back into the shadows. Winston says, "What was that about? Why'd they do that when they can walk into any restaurant at any time and get free food?" Cindy releases his arm, just to do something exciting. Their shadows grow longer in front of them as they leave the lit section. Their AR start all sensor night vision, and glowing vectors outline all mid to large objects in their surroundings. The darkness increases until all that can see are the vectors. Cindy's heart pounds in her chest. When they've walked half an hour in the darkness, they relax. But soon after, 5 figures, outlined in glowing lines, step into the tunnel from a utility doorway. Huddled together in a pack, they freeze, and just by the outlines of their heads, Cindy can tell they stare at her and Winston. Cindy whispers, "They're kids." The pack erupts into high-pitched screeching as they separate and run all over the tunnel in spirals. Winston steps in front of Cindy as they both become rigid. The youths run past them, screaming like banshees at the top of their lungs. The intense sounds bouncing off the tunnel walls give the night vision more sound to translate into objects in space, and the glowing lines become jagged with more detail. First, one youth knocks into Cindy while rushing past, and then a second. She holds onto Winston to keep from falling. She and Winston slowly turn around. The group run down the tunnel, their screeching fading. The vectors make it look like they disappear into the tunnel wall. Do they go through another doorway? Silence returns. Winston digs in his follow card. "I'm getting my stick." He digs out a baton with a weight on the end and makes a downward swinging motion, and the baton lengthens to a meter. Cindy says, "Are there any police in the shelter?" For a split second, their AR managed to draw lines around the stones as they fly towards Cindy and Winston. A stone hits Winston's head with a muffled thump, knocking his head back as he falls. He hits the ground with a thud, and his baton clangs out of his hand. Something hard and heavy strikes Cindy on her forehead, stunning her. She could be falling just before she blacks out. Misty arrives at an auditorium once equipped with 3 pro tennis courts and stands. The nets and stands are gone. Only 1 out of 5 overhead light shine. United natives now use it to store broken construction equipment. Pieces of drilling equipment lay about. One triple-size humanoid sitting on its heels looms in the center of the nearest court. She calls out, "Hello? Ed?" Ed comes up from behind her. "Don't panic. It's me. I'm right behind you." Misty spins around. "If you want to attack me, you should be quieter." Ed struggles to find something to say. Misty smirks. "Kidding? I'm kidding. What did you need me to see?" Ed passes her and walks over to a Lutin Bot lying on the floor in a murder victim pose. "I tell you about broken equipment each week. I want you to see how much we've lost in just 1 year." Some teen thought it was funny to throw this Lutin down a stairwell. He points at 50 standing Lutin 1 bots lined up like tin soldiers. "We have shitloads of these Lutin Model 1s all over. The problem is, they're hardwired to require cloud AI to run. We could their parts to repair the Lutin 2s, but Misty says, but we don't have any volunteers willing to take the training it takes to learn to do that." He says, "We have a great survival set up here, but it's showing wear and tear. I'm afraid in a year we won't be able to do major construction, and not long after that we'll see grow house failure, water harvesting failure, or even failure of our geothermal power plant." Misty walks up to the Lutin 2, kneels, and pulls at the fingers on its mangled hand. "Is it really so hard to fix one of these?" Ed raises his eyebrows and nods. She says, "Don't we have robots to repair robots?" He says, "There are robots that do that. We don't have them." He walks over to a digger bot with a missing wheel. "It's kind of a crazy idea, but there's a giantess production center about a mile from here." Misty makes an O shape with her mouth. Anyone who grew up in these parts can remember spotting the production center that towered over all other buildings. He says, if we made it there somehow, we'd get access to cutting-edge production machines and repair automation. She says, "I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but if the storm hasn't destroyed most of the center, and if we don't die trying to get over there, and if we figure out how to hack giantess equipment, which is known for being harder to hack than the Pentagon, and if we make up for broken supply lines the center needs to function, and—" He waves his hand. Okay, I get it." Before the world storm, the tribe hosted online education services from preschool to postgrad programs. Doing so protected the services from the Supreme Court attacks on education. So when the storm hit, the reservation still had access to all those services on computer servers, safe in underground cool rooms. Misty Josiah takes a Berkeley sociology course. In VR, she sits in a classroom listening to the teacher and taking notes. No other students attend. Mr. Green, the teacher, is an AI created by blending recordings of millions of hours of hundreds of professors teaching the same class. It's obvious that Mr. Green is an avatar. He moves and makes expressions perfectly Hume-like, but he looks like he's made of construction paper. The classroom looks real down to the tiniest detail. Most likely, the room is a result of a 3D scan of a real-life Berkeley classroom. He writes on the chalkboard as he says, "Research shows that in many societies, including the United States, your parents' socioeconomic status is a strong predictor of your own. This challenges the notion of the American dream and pure meritocracy." Misty yawns openly but does her best to focus and take notes. Glancing out the tall windows, she sees a group of students walking across the green lawn. As the clock nears the top of the hour, Mr. Green says, "Any questions?" Misty raises her hand, even though she's the only student. Mr. Green points at her with his chalk. She says, "If I have a group who has everything they need but are showing signs of discontent, how do I fix that?" Green leans against his desk. How do they feel limited or cut off? Are they blocked from getting higher earning jobs? She says, "Well, there's no money. There's no need for money." He says, "What motivates them?" She says, "I thought people would naturally want to better themselves and be better citizens by volunteering." He says, "What are they bettering themselves for? Bettering oneself can't exist in a vacuum. It can't be the final goal. It must have real-world consequences. Why become a surgeon if there are no lives to save?" Misty stares at the scene through the windows. A bus pulls up at a bus stop and people board. Green says, "Does anyone else have any question?" When Cindy wakes up, darkness surrounds her. Something makes a crunch, 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 crunch sound. She twists on the floor of sharp-edged rocks. "Winston, are you there?" He groans. Her glasses on the ground project tiny dancing colors onto the stones. She reaches for them. Her head feels split by pain. When she puts her glasses on, the tunnel comes into view drawn with bright lines. Winston lies on the ground. His follow cart moves forward, then backward, then forward. Then backward. She stands, takes a step backward, and feels like she might vomit. Scanning up and down the tunnel, she sees no signs of the youths. Why the hell did they do that? Assist! We need medics. Assist says, detecting your medical needs. Help will arrive soon. She gets behind Winston. With her hands cupped under his armpits, she drags him back the way they came. Where are those kids? Are they just about to throw rocks again? Brightness of a live video feed temporarily blinds her. Misty Josiah appears. Hello, people of United Natives. I have a vital message for everyone here. I apologize if this causes any inconvenience. Cindy pulls harder at Winston. Assist, stop video, Misty continues. I and the council are issuing new rules and practices. First of all, we have a new money system that everyone young and old is enrolled in starting now. All adults over 18 now have an online bank account. Every adult will receive $4 once a week. You are all free to exchange payments between each other. You will continue to receive housing without cost, but will offer nicer apartments to those who can afford to pay rent. The nicer apartments will be 3 times larger. Each will have a battery backup, so you won't experience brownouts or loss of AC. We are also starting an online store of special goods for sale. Our volunteer postings have been changed to job offerings. Those interested can use the site to apply for positions that pay more than the $4 a week. You will still receive $4 a week, whether you work or not. Cindy shuts her eyes tight. Rapid footfall with mechanical rhythm echoes down the tunnel. Sweeps of spotlights pass over the floor and walls. She drops Winston and sobs in a heap. What is happening? Misty says, the second major change is education. All children 5 to 18 will be required, starting next Monday, to attend school 5 days a week. If a student misses school, they and their parents won't be able to take food at any store, cafeteria, or restaurant until the matter is worked out. Schooling for children is absolutely mandatory. A hand touches Cindy's shoulder, and she looks up. Robots stand around her. Cindy, please relax. Let us help you onto this stretcher. The mood in the colony changes. All around the T-line, people set up stands on platforms, and people offer clothing repair, massages, music lessons, caffeinated mushrooms, pet turtles, dog bot repairs, iris tattoos, jewelry, device unlocking, cool booth visits, memory sticks containing hard-to-get libraries, pet daycare, live circus acts, and much, much more. People begin to travel to markets that gain 5-star reputations. Trains with no tops run so that people can visit a market and return home in one day. The neglected volunteer website turns into a busy job offering website where people can apply for a variety of jobs, including elderly care, security, and robot repair. Some jobs require extensive paid training. For full-time jobs, you can make a lot. For 1-hour jobs, you can make on average of 20 cents, but 20 cents can get you a dinner for 2 in an all-Hume-operated restaurant. Many don't bother trying to earn money. Who needs it? But people celebrate the new system. On the other hand, getting kids to go to school hasn't gone as well. The neurological disease killing pre-teens puts families under duress. Parents who lose a child have a hard time making sure their other children go to school. Siblings of children who pass live in terror that they'll show symptoms of the nameless disease. People say the new policy is cruel. Real-life classrooms are set up where kids sit at desks and attend VR schools. Many struggle to get their kids to school on time. 1 in 6 families don't even try to get their kids to school. When they try to get food at the stores and cafeterias and are denied, Online protests turned to angry marches toward the council headquarters. An army of guard bots block the protesters. People demand Missy Josiah resign. Non-parent sympathizers get food for the families who refuse to go to school. But the VR schools are the best the U.S. ever made. The Pennsylvania company that made the schools hired the best teachers and child psychologists. AI teachers get to know each student. Teaching is optimized for each student. When students excel at a subject, they're taught more of that subject. Kids can ask questions at any time. Learning is gamified to get kids hooked on learning. Each student gets an avatar companion who guides them and also gives emotional support. VR School provides escape from the stagnant and depressing subterranean shelter. In VR, kids can visit museums, landmarks, and other points in history. The situation has a lot of problems, but youth gangs lose membership, and people feel safer. Cindy and Winston walk out of the hospital together. New skin grown from the top of Winston's head to his temple has yet to grow hair. Winston gestures enthusiastically. I'm telling you, I think I can be a chef again. I'll start by doing it once a week to see how it works. I can charge like 5 cents per meal. This is exciting. Cindy frowns. Why can't they let people use the money we have from before the storm? I lost 2 houses, recreational vehicles, a lot of stuff. But the storm didn't wash my Fed coin away. I'm a wealthy woman, in case you don't know. He places his hand on her back. I don't know. You could find someone who'll pay you in tribes money now for a promissory note that you'll pay them in U.S. money after the storm. She says, I've looked into that. No one wants to do anything like that. He says, have you looked at the online store? They're offering VR windows you can hang on your wall. I've got to get one of those. She sighs. I just want my tailor back. He says, maybe he's still in a computer somewhere and we'll find him. She looks up at him. Maybe. He says, should we look for Cobby again? She says nothing for several minutes. He looks around at the dimly lit tunnel and darkened windows on the houses side by side. She says, yes, but let's do it differently this time.
Thank you for listening. Please take the time to rate, review, and subscribe so that more future-minded people can find this show. My landing page is in20xx.com. There, you can find the companion website to this podcast that includes an illustrated timeline and glossary.